Leading stories, trending topics, changing narratives. You're listening to the Critical Conversations podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody, once again to the Critical Conversations podcast series. Thank you for listening. My name is Dr. Rick Daniels, and I am the Director of Institutional Equity and Inclusion right here at Oakton College. It's a beautiful time. Oakton is growing and expanding. We're seeing new buildings, we're seeing new students, and we're seeing new staff as well. One of which is here joining us in studio today, our new Chief of Police, Aaron Wernick. Today, we are going to discuss his vision for the Oakton Police Department and address some key concerns that are regarding public safety, policing policies, and community relations. Chief Aaron Wernick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. I appreciate you having me here.
How's it going today? How you doing?
Great. Having a good day.
How long has it been?
About 2.5 months.
2.5 months?
Yes, sir.
All right. Does it feel like 2.5 years yet?
It sure does. A lot going on in a short time.
I know we've worked together on quite a few things, most of which have not been planned.
Right.
But that's the nature of the work that we do together.
For sure.
But I can say that in these 2 months, I've appreciated the time so far. And I hope that you're having a good experience as one of our valued employees.
I am. I appreciate it.
Let's get into it, man. Our purpose again today, like I said before, is to introduce you and to talk about your vision. So tell us a little bit about how you got into police work, campus safety, and then I would love if you could flow into your vision for the Oakton Campus Safety Unit, the police department. Sure. And then we'll get into a few other more specific topics. But tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you.
Sure. So, Aaron Wernick, my 23rd year of law enforcement, I started at Mundelein Police Department. I did 3 years there. Then I went to Evanston Police Department, where I did 19 years. Last position with Evanston was I was in charge of internal affairs, our Office of Professional Standards, where I retired as a commander. And then I came over here. I do live in Evanston with my wife and 2 kids and my 2 dogs.
All right, so 2 kids and 2 dogs. So 4 kids, basically.
You got it, yeah.
It's funny, I tell my kids all the time, we can't get a dog because it's another kid.
Oh, yeah.
But respect to you. So your time in policing, you seem to have a vast history. That obviously leads into your vision. Tell us a little bit about your vision for Oakton's police department right now.
Sure. So kind of the way that I look at policing is, I want to treat everyone the way that I want to be treated or the way I want family members to be treated. So looking at the staff and everybody we have at the police department, I want them to kind of have that same lens. And part of what I really love about the police department here is it's an older workforce. So it's a lot of retired individuals who are policing here. So they've already done a full career at other agencies. So when they come here, they're not here for law enforcement as much as they're here for public safety, which I think is important.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so that's important.
And can I segue real quick? How would you describe the difference between the two? Are those terms interchangeable or do they have different perspectives?
I think historically for me, law enforcement is like we're concentrating on traffic stops, we're concentrating on numbers, enforcement, where public safety, I look at it as more of a holistic approach to what we're doing. So it might include some enforcement, but we're not really focused on enforcement here on campus unless something comes to our attention. Yeah. Right. We're trying to plan. And as part of my role, it's emergency management as well. So we're trying to plan for contingencies, emergencies, threats, and making sure that we have the right training and people in place if something does happen.
Yeah. So I appreciate that distinction, especially for our listeners. So there is a difference between enforcement and campus safety. Although, of course, they need each other in order to happen. But our goal is not necessarily enforcing the law, but more so making the campus safe.
Yes. And the way I look at it is we're more of a partnership. So we're here to support. So we're not looking to, even if someone makes a mistake, we're not looking to arrest them or throw the book at them. We're looking more to guide them and help them get to where they need to be. So, a lot of times, the enforcement may send somebody into the criminal justice system, and then we're looking, they have an arrest, maybe a conviction. Now it's hard to get a job. It's hard to go to school, do all of that. You may lose your license.
It's a domino effect.
It is, completely. And that's not what we're focused on here. Like I said, we're focused on really just the holistic approach of safety.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Let's transition into talking about the recent executive orders that have come out of the current administration. These orders have sparked major concerns throughout the college community. How do they impact the college campus, and how can you help Oakton citizens to feel safe during uncertain times?
Sure. So Obviously, this is unprecedented, uncertain time for everybody, us included. So we're navigating it as well as the campus is. And, as far as the executive orders go, they're changing. The impact is seen daily, right? So one thing I think that the college did really well was getting the tile up on the My Oakton, which has the current events, so everyone can go on there and kind of see where things are at. And what we've done, we've just tried to be ahead of it, put out information on how to react to things. So I think that that's important. And really what we're doing is it's really the preparation and the collaboration with, the President's Council and the administrators, and being able to work together to make sure that we are following the law, right, which we have to do, but making sure that, people feel safe here, that we're still, this is an educational institution, and that we're still promoting that this is an educational environment and that people are welcome here. This is an open campus, which does create other issues that we have. And I know a lot of that came up when we had the immigration discussion. Mm-hmm. But, as far as making people feel safe, just know that we're here for support. Our goal here is to really help people navigate. So if they have questions, we're available to give answers.
Yeah, information.
That's really all we can do at this point. We're not looking to enforce things that we don't have to. And I think I've kind of harped on that, where we're more public safety rather than enforcement, but that is true.
Right, yeah, and that also plays a part in how we convey information, how we help people to feel safe. I'd like to get into a sensitive topic if we can. Immigration Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE. What assurances can you provide students and families and staff and employees who are feeling anxious about the potential of ICE raids on campus? And then I'm going to ask the question in particular. The question on the table for many people is, will there be ICE raids on campus? Will there be ICE raids in the classrooms? Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that, and how can we address some of those concerns on this episode?
Sure. So I don't think that we are going to see it, at least in the near future. I was fortunate to be on a call last week that had an FBI agent and someone from DHS on the call, and they reiterated that they're members of the community, that they live and work in the community. Their job is to obviously enforce the law, but they're not looking to go above and beyond. So they're doing, the way it was explained to me, the bare minimum that they have to do to meet the needs of their supervisors and, the presidential orders and all of that. But also, they don't have the manpower. They're not going to, they can't come to campus and do roundups. And I don't think, when we're talking about roundups and we're talking about raids, the way that it's been presented to me is we're looking for people who are violent criminals, which clearly we don't want violent criminals on campus, right? Mm. So for me, I don't see the campus being a first stop for immigration and ICE agents. Could it happen? Sure, I think anything is possible this day and age, but I don't see it in the near future. That being said, we are being proactive. We put out information. We're answering questions. Yeah. And that's really all we can do, and kind of monitor and try to speak to our federal partners and have this open dialogue and figure out what's going on.
So in the event that it does happen, even if it is unlikely, what should people do? Should they go to the police office? Should they contact their professor? What's the first response from your perspective?
Well, it depends where they're at. So if there's immigration officials or ICE agents on the open campus, they're allowed to be on the open campus. What they should do immediately is contact the police department, let us know that they're on campus, because then we could disseminate the information. If, they're sitting in class and they look out the window and see something, they should let their professor know right away. Or if a employee here, they should let their supervisor know right away that what they're seeing, because we're able to spread the information and disseminate it. And I know that we talked about the types of spaces. You have your private space, your limited access, and then your public. So, obviously, if you're in a limited access or a private space, you're going to have a different protocol. In your office or your suite, you're not going to let people in. And if they do, obviously, you're not going to obstruct and you're not going to fight with a federal agent. And we aren't either, but we're going to document it. And I think I've said it before that you can pull out your phone and you can say, I'm recording this interaction. And that's totally fine. Yeah. And being police, we've talked about wearing the body cameras. We wear the body cameras now. It's a state law in Illinois. We're used to recording. We're used to being recorded. So, as far as a federal agent, I don't know if they're used to it the same way that the municipal and local police are. But for me, I just assume I'm being recorded everywhere.
Yeah. I think it's a safe assumption. Yeah.
Right. So I think it does put people, it makes them think twice sometimes the way that they're talking to somebody or the way they're acting when
they know it could be played back.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that, because those are some very practical things that people can do in the event that Immigration Customs Enforcement comes to campus.
Yes.
And I know that that's a major question. Let's talk about another important topic: police and community relations. What are your thoughts on relationships between law enforcement and historically marginalized communities?
Sure. So my history policing has been, just so you know, I'm second generation. So I came into this, I never thought I would be a police officer. It didn't really happen.
Even as a second generation?
Yeah, I did not want to do it.
Okay.
I saw it as like, this wasn't where my trajectory was going. And then 9/11 happened. And it kind of changed my view on things. And shortly after 9/11, I was hired with my first job. But, the first department I worked in it was about 26% Hispanic or Latinx population. And then I went to my second department, which was, when I started there, about 20% African American or Black community. And now that number has shrunk. And then the Hispanic community has increased. So, about a quarter of the population that I've dealt with has been a minority community. So for me, I think it's important that the relationship has to be personal. You have to treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter where you're at, who you're dealing with, but just as a little bit of just reaching your hand out and shaking somebody's hand, that goes a long way in getting to know people.
Show people the respect, that's the requisite respect that they deserve. And I think that for me, equality is sameness, equity is fairness.
Yes.
I think when we treat people fairly, we may not necessarily treat them the same or offer them the same things, but it's based upon the same principles.
Right.
And those are the principles of campus safety, as you mentioned before. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, you should be doing everything, and it all goes back to the lens where I want to be treated a certain way, so I'm going to treat people a certain way, and I expect that of the people who work for me, too. So when I'm looking at the way things are handled, there's going to be interactions. Some people are triggered just by police presence. Some people's interactions have been negative, or they haven't had an interaction. And that's why I think it was important when I first started to meet with athletics and meet with the Student Government Association to just let them know that we're partners here. I'm trying to bridge that, so we're available as a resource. I don't want to be looked at historically as we're demonized because we're law enforcement, because that's not the way I look at this role. So.
Yeah. Good. Let me ask you one final question on the way out. Let's talk about the 10 considerations. I think that you mentioned those to me, and you don't have to read all of them or highlight them, but just briefly broach that for us and tell us about the 10 considerations that you're implementing in the campus safety unit. Yeah,
so we've adopted the 10 shared principles. So
shared principles.
Yeah, so back in 2018, the NAACP and the Illinois Chiefs of Police Association adopted 10 shared principles. And if you read through them, a lot of them are basic, where you really shouldn't necessarily have to say that we'll treat people with respect, right? But historically, that's been an issue with police and community. There's been a division, and
that's good to say out loud, by the way. Sorry to cut you off. That's good to say out loud so that the listeners know that you have an understanding of that.
Oh, for sure.
And that informs your work.
Yeah, and, coming from Evanston, I worked in Evanston for a long time. We were doing DEI stuff before DEI was a hot topic, right? Mm-hmm. From day one there, that was part of our training as officers. I was fortunate. I live in the community, too. So I'm policing in a community where I lived, right? And now I'm in the district, so I live in the district. So I think the 10 shared principles, when you look at the list of departments, Oakton College Police Department was one of the few departments in the region that did not adopt the shared principles. And for me, that's a no-brainer. It's just one of those things that it's a free, literally, you get the poster, you sign it, and you live by it, right? But if you read through them, it's basic common sense to me. So I think it's
basic human decency.
It is.
Which is what DEI work is in the first place.
For sure.
It just requires us to think about it from a systemic perspective. And so it sounds like you're helping to advance and further the narrative around how this impacts the work that you do over in the campus safety unit.
Yes, sir. For
Excellent.
sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today. I think it's been a great topic of conversation because not only did we get the chance to introduce you as the new chief, hear a little bit about your background, but I really appreciate the way we covered some of the unique concerns that are happening right now, that are relevant to right now. Do you have anything you want to say, any last words to leave the people with before we close up?
I just want to thank you for your time. You've been great help. I look forward to working with you again. And honestly, everybody here at the campus has been welcoming. And I think that's the one thing that really attracted me here was kind of the vision and the mission. Everyone's mission focused. But they don't just say it. You guys
actually do it.
I'll live it, which it's comforting, right? Because I worked in a place where you say it, but other stuff happens and you don't get to the actual mission a lot of times.
Right.
So I love being part of this community, and I look forward to being here.
All right. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining Critical Conversations.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
The Critical Conversations podcast is recorded at Oakton College, located at 1600 East Gulf Road, Des Plaines, Illinois. The show is sponsored in part by the Oakton College Educational Foundation, produced by Erick Rohn, coordinated by Brenda Cruz, and hosted by Dr. Rick Daniels. For more information or to connect with us, email critconpod@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for more Critical Conversations.